Hello everyone, FPL Raptor here and welcome back to another video on my YouTube channel. In today's video I have 5 unique drafts which will hopefully encourage you to continue to think critically and to think independently and show you that you do not need to have the same team as everyone else. If you are enjoying the daily uploads here on this channel, or if you're new to the channel, please do consider subscribing. But without further ado, let's get into it. So each draft in today's video has a name, and each draft has a key theme that I think differs from the template and differs from what everyone else is doing. But I should caveat at the start that there is absolutely no issue with picking highly owned players. There is absolutely no issue with doing what everyone else is doing, and you will probably do fairly well if you pick the players that a lot of other people are picking as well. But I know the game can get a little bit tedious for quite a few people when everyone's picking the same teams. So hopefully these few drafts will just encourage you to think a little bit differently to everyone else and just show you that it is possible to build really good teams with some key differences in personnel and structure too. Each of the drafts today will have a team rating and predicted points in game week 1 from Fantasy Football Hub. If you want to get your team rated for absolutely free, you can do by clicking the first link in the description. The second link in the description will allow you to sign up to 50% off if you use my link. Of course, it is worth doing if you do enjoy the site, but first of all, just get your team rated for absolutely free. It's definitely worth doing. So this first draft I've called the backing Klopp draft. You could call it the triple Liverpool draft if you want. There are 3 Liverpool assets. This is very different from the template because I got sent over 600 teams on Twitter for the rating your drafts video earlier in the week. There was not a single team with 3 Liverpool assets in it. So this is the first that I've seen. If you've got one, let me know down below. The rest of the team is really strong. You've got Onana at 5. You've got a really strong backline, Pau Torres, Estepinian, and Gabriel as well. We are in a 4-4-2 here, of course. Mbeumo, Matoma, Saka, and Haaland. And then you have those 3 Liverpool assets in Trent, Salah, and Darwin. I would say quite comfortably, if you're going to have 2 Liverpool assets and you have the funds to do so, Trent and Salah are definitely the ones to go for. So I don't feel like we need to talk about them in tons of detail, but they are really good picks. And if you can squeeze them in a draft alongside Haaland and Saka and some of these other picks that you've got, it probably is worth doing. Then the third one, I think, is really dependent on pre-season and just what we see in the lead up to game week 1. At the moment, I've got Darwin, just that you've got a second forward in there for structural reasons. But I know that the midfield looks pretty stacked for FPL this season, specifically going into game week 1. So if you want to switch to a 3-5-2 or I guess like a 4-5-1 you could switch to, then you might want to switch Darwin in for like a Jota or a Diaz, who are the 2 midfielders that you could choose from Liverpool. I guess it would be a 4-5-1, drop Darwin to a 4.5, and then upgrade Dembele to probably Diaz would be the one that you would go for at that price point. I don't mind that at all. We'll have to wait and see who's the standout option. This is just to say that I think Liverpool will have a strong start to the season. I think Liverpool will probably comfortably, in my opinion, finish inside the top 4 if we're expecting them to continue how they ended the back end of 2022-2023. And not many of us have any Liverpool. In fact, in my current latest draft that you saw on Sunday, I have 0 Liverpool assets. So going with 3 of them is great. The only issue with this draft is it's spread a little bit thin, the money, just because you've got Haaland, Salah, and Trent, as well as Darwin and Saka, and a decent defence as well. So it makes the midfield a little bit light in there, and you don't have 5 midfielders as well. And the other thing is there is no Manchester United in this team other than Onana. So you can't get Rashford, you can't get Shaw, and you can't get Bruno, really, because the money is just too tight elsewhere. So I really do like it. I would agree with Fantasy Football Hub, it's probably 92%. I like the idea of getting 2 Liverpool. Maybe you end up having to drop Trent just to allow you to go into a back 3 and then upgrade one of those midfield spots. So draft number 2 I've called Forwards for the Win draft, and it is a 3-4-3 with an absolutely stacked front line. It, of course, raises issues, maybe similar issues to what we saw with the first draft, but it also has strengths that other drafts won't have. And of course, every single draft, whether it's in this video, which is more of unique drafts, or in my regular one, every single draft will have a weakness, because if it didn't, then everyone would have the exact same team. So you have to consider that. But I love that front line, all 3 of them, assuming Kane stays in the Premier League. That is going to, all 3 of them I expect to score very well this season. Of course, we know about Haaland. We know what Kane can do. I mean, he almost outscored Haaland last season. He really went under the radar. It was just because he very steadily ticks along. Yes, he got a few hauls, but generally he was getting between 6 and 9 points every single week, and that really stacks up across the season. And yes, you're going to captain Haaland most weeks, but you could captain Kane in some of them. And even if you don't captain him, just with the consistency and the goal scoring record that he's got, he could still be worth it potentially. And then Gabriel Jesus, we know how good he is, but I've not seen a single person again in over the 600 that I got that had such a stacked front line. It is because the midfield is so stacked. But firstly, front line is amazing. Secondly, the back line is exactly what we've seen from a lot of drafts. In fact, it's my exact back four at the moment of Johnston, Shaw, Estepinian and Gabriel. I think that's an absolutely fine one. It doesn't have to be Johnston. You could go for Flecken. You've basically got a £4.5 million goalkeeper there. So an incredibly strong front line, a really good defence. Yes, the midfield is a bit weak, but it's not as weak as maybe you would expect it to be, considering you've got Haaland, Kane, Jesus, and a strong defence. You've still got Bukayo Saka. You've still got Bruno Fernandes. You've still got a £6.5 million price point in there. It's that 5.5 that we still don't think is the strongest in the world. You could quite easily downgrade Enciso, I suppose, to a 4.5 and upgrade one of Bell and Baldock and go for a 4-3-3. But I think then you are really weakening the midfield too far. But I like the fact that you've got Saka at that price point and Fernandes at the same price point. I like the fact that you've got Mbeumo in that for that 6.5 price. It's just that Enciso spot. If he does look nailed, or if like someone like a Madueke at 5.5 emerges as a really good option, then maybe this draft could work. And again, I just wanted to show that you don't have to have an absolutely stacked midfield. Yes, probably on paper, the midfield is the strongest in FPL, and it tends to be most seasons. The forwards could offer great value. A lot of us, including a couple of my drafts, have been going in a 4-5-1 formation. So this would really allow you to differ up your team and go into the season with good goal scorers in your team. You can see that Fantasy Football Hub have this as a 94% rating and 67.3 predicted points in Game Week 1. So they really like this draft. I'd maybe give it a slightly lower draft, but I think it is a strong one, and I don't mind the idea of investing some more money in the forwards. So draft number 3, I've called the best two teams attack. And as you can see by the beautiful symmetry, it is triple Arsenal attack and triple City attack. And let me just say that sometimes symmetry is more important than FPL points and underlying data. Let me know down below in the comments if you organize your team based on sort of a color scheme and symmetry, because I tend to do that every single week. And you can see here that it's also got 2 blue defenders and 2 red defenders as well. So we really have got a real nice split between a red side and a blue side of the team. Also, maybe an interesting question, but Haaland is on that side, so maybe not. Which side of this team do you think will score more points than the other? Let's ignore the goalkeeper. Do you think Shaw, Trent, Saka, Martinelli, Jesus across the season will score more points? Or Haaland, Foden, Grealish, Estepinian and Chilwell? That's actually a really good question. Which side of the team do you think will score more? In all seriousness, though, if we go back to the draft, I think that I expect City and Arsenal to be the best 2 teams in attack once again this season. I expect them to accumulate the highest expected goals, and I expect their FPL options to get a lot of points too. I'm not necessarily sure that you would want to only have Arsenal and only have City attackers, but I really don't mind the idea of a triple up in either attack. Maybe you would go for triple Arsenal attack, 2 City attackers, switch to a 3-5-2, and then maybe have like an extra midfielder in... like have an extra 2 midfielders, maybe like a Matoma and an Mbeumo. And all of a sudden, you've got 3 teams or 4 teams represented in that attack, but you still have a lot of players from both City and Arsenal because we expect them to score so many goals. I think maybe triple City attack is slightly overkill, but one of Foden and Grealish alongside Haaland gives you the added incentive to want to watch City games and to get something out of their attack, because everyone's going to own Haaland, everyone's going to captain Haaland. So you're not gaining anything by City scoring goals. So I like the idea of a City attacker. And to be honest, I would expect Saka, Martinelli and Jesus to get a lot of goals early on in the season and maybe be worth it ahead of having an Arsenal defender. The back line is incredibly strong. It allows you to get Chilwell, Estepinian, Shaw, Trent, and then a £4.5 million goalkeeper. So just to say, I don't mind triple ups. Try and back the teams that you think will score goals. Just maybe be a little bit careful, because I suppose this midfield is a little bit heavy on the rotation risk. Martinelli, Foden, Grealish could all conceivably miss out in a single game week. So maybe you want to diversify a little bit. Maybe you want to go for an Erdegaard in there and maybe drop one Man City attacker. But it would be quite fun starting with this beautifully symmetrical team. So draft number 4, I've called the all-out attack draft, and you can see that Fantasy Football Hub are rating it at 96%, which is very, very high. They like this draft, and it's, as it says on the tin, all-out attack. The back line is very, very thin. The bench is even thinner. You would probably want to make it less all-out attack and maybe just upgrade the bench and defense a little bit. But the idea here is that you take all of the money out of the defense pretty much, but you've still got a £4.5 million keeper. You've still got Estepinian, and you've still got Gabriel. You're just now rotating in that third spot between the £3-4 million defenders, but the rest of the team is stacked. You get Jesus, Haaland, Rashford, Matoma, and Burmo, Saka, 6 incredible attackers, and then you get Salah as well. So you've got a 2 premium draft with 5 other really strong attackers, including Rashford, Jesus, and Saka, and 2 at that £6.5 million price tag. I absolutely love this draft. What I would probably do is drop down one of Rashford, Jesus, or Saka. If you do want to keep Salah in there, maybe just by 1 or 2 million, upgrade Bulldog to another 4.5 or 5. From 4.5 to 5.5 defender, and then maybe use a little bit on the bench. Of course, then it is no longer an all-out attack draft. So if you do really want to go into it, could I see Johnston, Estepinian, and Gabriel, and a rotation of the 3 £4 million defenders doing quite well? Yes, I could. Game week 2 is the only issue where both Luton and Burnley blank. But outside of that, Baldock, Bell, Bayer, you would expect that every single game week, one of them will get some minutes and one of them will do okay. And then the attack will get you so many points. You have Salah in there alongside Haaland and most of the other popular attackers in FPL at the moment. I could see this team doing very, very well, especially if you want an exciting team, because defenders don't tend to be that fun and exciting to own. We don't really want to sit there and wait for them to get a clean sheet. But all of those attackers in one team, now that is a lot of fun. So guys, draft number 5 is actually a challenge to you watching right now. And I should say, you watching this right now, if you've not yet subscribed, please do subscribe. We are on the road to 80,000 subscribers, and I would really, really appreciate it if you've enjoyed today's video and you're still watching. But if you are still watching, here is a challenge to you down below in the comments, or feel free to post it on Twitter and tag me. Try and build the best possible team that you can, but you have a maximum of 1 player from each Premier League team. So, of course, you've got 15 players in your team, so you will only be representing 15 of the 20 Premier League teams, but you can only select a maximum of 1 player from each team, and, of course, it needs to come in under the £100 million price bracket, and try and build the best team for the season. I look at this and it's actually really strong, and it's such a fun challenge. And if you're looking for some fun with some friends as well, and FPL feels a little bit same old to you, then maybe you could go ahead and do a league where each of you has to have only 1 player maximum from each team at all points. So if you did want to move from Nkunku to Chilwell, you'd have to sell Nkunku and another player then to be able to fund that, because you could only have 1 player from each team at each point. Some of the obvious picks in this team, I feel like Haaland was an easy one. Trent was an easy one. Rashford was relatively straightforward, as was Estepinian, and maybe Saka, maybe Mbeumo. But there was some fun picks in it that was a little bit more difficult. For example, Nkunku or Chilwell or James was quite a tricky decision in there. Eze versus Johnston was a tricky one for me. I ended up going for Leno, who is quite a decent goalkeeper at 4.5. Botman versus the likes of maybe an Almiron, a Wilson, or an Isak was pretty tricky. Son versus Kane versus Maddison versus Porro was quite a tricky one. You can see I've got Pau Torres on the bench, but I was slightly tempted to go for Watkins. Obviously, they've got some new signings coming in as well now, Aston Villa you could pick from. But I guess this is just a bit of fun, and FPL is meant to be fun. I mean, this content throughout pre-season is meant to be informative, but it's also meant to be entertaining. But you playing FPL is meant to be fun as well. Try and get whatever fun you can from the game, and I feel like this would be a really fun league to run with your friends, or at least, like I said, do the challenge. Let me know down below, how do you think you could beat my team, or feel free to post it on Twitter. But this is the best possible team that I could build with only 1 player from each team maximum. It is 92% rated by Fantasy Football Hub, which is incredibly high considering the challenge, and it's predicted to get 64.3 points in game week 1. So like I said, let me know what you think down below, and let me know if you think you can beat it. So guys, there you have it. That is my unique drafts video. Slightly shorter than usual and slightly different to usual. Hopefully it was informative, but also entertaining, because like I said, that is the point of the content on YouTube. It's meant to inform, but it's also meant to entertain. And if you did enjoy today's video, please do drop a like on the video. Make sure to subscribe as well. And like I said, if you want to get your team rated by the AI, you can do that for free right now by clicking the first link in the description. The second link will take you to the 50% off discount. For as little as £3 per month, you can get access to pretty much everything on the website over at Fantasy Football Hub. Until next time, thank you very much for watching. Cheers. Bye-bye.